The scream never left her mouth because she knew no one would hear it anyway. But her hand trembled as she raised it just high enough for anyone to see. The street smelled of rain and rust, and the world felt like it had quietly decided she no longer belonged in it. That was when the roar of an engine cut through the silence, deep and rough like thunder, and the elderly lady realized this might be her last chance. She lifted her hand again, slower this time, forming the signal she had learned decades ago. Margaret Holloway, 79, had learned how to disappear in plain sight. She lived in a narrow apartment above a closed-down bakery. Her husband had died 15 years earlier, her son even before that. Her new caretaker had arrived weeks ago, assigned through an agency that promised safety and dignity. What it delivered instead was fear wrapped in politeness, control disguised as help. He decided when she ate, when she slept, when she spoke. He laughed when she questioned him, making her feel like a burden. Margaret had tried to report it once, but the call was interrupted, and the phone was moved just out of reach. Over time, she learned to stay quiet, to wait. But that night, when she slipped out under the excuse of throwing out the trash and felt his presence behind her on the stairs, something inside her snapped. Fear sharpened into clarity. Outside the street was nearly empty, slick with rain. She raised her hand, folded her thumb, and wrapped her fingers around it. She did not know if anyone would recognize it. Then she heard the motorcycle. The Hell's Angel riding. It was Jack Calder, though most people knew him only by his leather vest and skull patch that made mothers pull their children closer. Jack was 46, his beard threaded with gray, his knuckles scarred. That night, he was riding home after visiting a fellow veteran. His mind was heavy, and he almost missed her. Almost. Something about the way Margaret stood made Jack slow down. It was her hand. He had seen that signal before, during safety training at a shelter his club had helped renovate. Jack pulled over and watched as a shadow moved behind her near the stairwell. Jack positioned his bike between Margaret and the building, making himself visible, unavoidable, and calm. His presence shifted the air, and the shadow hesitated. Jack's heart pounded with responsibility. Margaret felt it immediately. The pressure in her chest eased just enough for her to breathe. The caretaker retreated without a word. Jack stayed. He did not rush her. He helped her sit, called for assistance from resources he knew through his club's charity work, and waited until help arrived. He made sure her story was heard, that it was written down, that it could not be erased. When authorities came, they were surprised to find a Hell's Angel calmly advocating for a woman most of the world had forgotten. Margaret was relocated that night to a safe place. In the days that followed, her life began to expand again in small but meaningful ways. Jack checked into the social worker, never asking for gratitude. He returned to his routines, but something in him had shifted. Weeks later, Margaret sat by a window in her new apartment, sunlight resting on her hands as she held a cup of tea that was finally hot enough. She thought about how close she had come to disappearing completely, and how a man the world feared had been the one to see her worth most clearly. Jack rode past that street sometimes, out of remembrance. He understood now that redemption was not a single grand act, but a series of quiet decisions to show up when it mattered. Margaret's life did not become perfect, and Jack did not become a hero in the newspapers, but something far more important happened. Two people written off by the same world reminded each other what humanity still looked like, and sometimes that is enough to change everything.